Hey, this is Dave from MetalEpidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review.
What's gone is gone again.
What is up? Dave here from Metal Epidemic, back with another album review. And for this review, Duncan Kyle and myself have been checking out the new album from Louisiana sludge band Eyehategod. The band's new album, A History of Nomadic Behaviour, will be released on March 12th via Century Media Records. This is the band's first album since their self-titled in 2014, and the band states that A History of Nomadic Behaviour is a reflection of the chaos and euphoria the band experienced over the past 3 years. One of touring crossed with the past 2 years of political turmoil, pandemic terror and remorseless hypocrisy. The majority of the music for the album was recorded prior to the world going into lockdown and was produced by Eyehategod and Sanford Parker, who's also worked with Yob and Voivod, and James Whitten, with the mixing done by James. They recorded at Hightower Recording and Hypercube Studios. Then in July 2020, Mike Williams recorded his vocals with producer Sanford Parker at Hypercube Studio in Chicago in just 8 days. Eyehategod, because it had been a little minute since Eyehategod had released an album, I did go back and check out that self-titled from 2014. I forgot how much of a beast that album actually was.
It's really good. It's really
totally forgot
good.
about that.
Yeah.
It was done at Anselmo's place with a guy called Steve Berrigan, who worked with Down and Superjoint and the Legals and stuff. And you can hear, like on this album, that straight away they went for a slightly different approach production-wise on this new one. This feels way more old school, a bit doomier actually in tone, and a bit kind of heavier on the fuzz than their self-titled, which it had that kind of like thick sludge metal type sound. But I really like the production on this though. I think it feels quite unique, like it has a lot of personality to it, and I think it suits the kind of unpolished approach that they went for on this album. And also, this one seems fairly kind of consistent in terms of tempo, which is a little different to their last album. It had a few tracks where they went with the kind of more kind of sludgy hardcore and punk stuff, whereas this album stays fairly steady throughout, except I think the second half of The Outer Banks has a little burst of kind of punk infused energy on it. But aside from that, it's fairly straightforward. We did a little reaction to Built Beneath the Lies, and I think Duncan mentioned on that reaction that even though we're unlikely to see like a new album from bands like Church of Misery, and it's more than likely we won't see a full album from Down. I know they're going to do like an EP of covers and stuff. So it feels like this album. It feels like it's come at a really good time. Where there's no other albums being released from the kind of big hitters of like Sludge, so I think they've kind of timed this perfectly, if I'm honest. And to be honest, for me, it's everything you'd want from an Eyehategod album. It's absolutely rammed with the kind of sludge, kind of soaked riffs and grooves that from time to time the album will conjure up bands like Down and Goatsnake and Church of Misery and stuff. But I'm absolutely cool with that. I think what makes Eyehategod more unique is their ability to take songs in another direction to those bands. We heard it on Built Beneath the Lies, where they just throw in a riff that you're totally not expecting. And those moments appear kind of right throughout this album, whether it's a change in tone or like that tempo change I mentioned on The Outer Banks, where they almost go into like kind of more kind of Superjoint Ritual territory. The other thing for me that sets this apart is the vocals. Mike Williams, he doesn't, we mentioned again in the reaction, but he doesn't have a typical kind of sludge tone. It's overly
more punky.
Like,
it's more
absolutely
angsty punk, and I would never put the two together, and I think it works wonders. Yeah.
And to be honest, it hasn't always been like that. Like if you go back to early Eyehategod, if you go back to like their 2000 album, his tone was a bit more kind of visceral on that release. But through time, his style's become a bit more kind of angsty, but To be fair, they've always had that kind of like a punk influence on their album, so it completely works on this album. And I think, to be honest, it only adds more kind of personality to the band's sound. Lyrically, it's fucking really abstract. Like, it's like the previous albums. He comes up with these little strange lines and phrases, that'll fit around a particular theme or subject, but then it kind of mixes them up, so they're like intentionally strange, but they still kind of make sense in some other way. Definitely interesting to listen to. I don't necessarily think they get stuck in your head or become something to sing along to. But for me, the riffs are the kind of hooks in this band. Like when I was on my like fourth and fifth listen to this, it was a particular riff or a guitar line that I was kind of looking forward to coming up. Like the riff at the beginning of High Risk Trigger is just like, it's just made for headbanging, but then similar to Built Beneath the Lies, it takes a turn and you get this really kind of quirky, kind of lead-driven southern hook that you like. It just makes you kind of crack a smile, Same with, what was the other one, The Trial of Johnny Cancer.
Yeah.
It's got a great riff in it as well. Sounds like the band are just having so much fun on that track. Lyrically, it's maybe not all sunshine and rainbows, but Big Mike, singing that he'd rather be a corpse than a coward, and having Christmas dinner in the bedroom closet and stuff. But rhythmically, it's got a really cool kind of swagger to it, and the riffs are absolutely killer. Duncan, I know, you've had your times with Eyehategod. I did
trouble past.
Introduced you to Eyehategod back in the day.
That 2000 album that you mentioned is the one that was the first one I listened to, and I gave it, I bought it because you said try buying this, and I think the following day I gave it to you to keep. Not for me, Dave. Not for me. Yes. But like things have changed. Like by the time they were releasing stuff, 2014, which was at the time we were doing the rock and roll stuff back in the day. That album was an absolute barn burner. It was really, really, really good. So I, very much like you, when we come to do the reaction piece, hadn't realised that they hadn't done anything in between that time. However, that being said, Down had been pretty active. So there was that kind of, like all those bands appear to get put on high. It's one of the reasons your man from Crowbar took, it was like that, I'm not doing Down anymore, I'm going to fucking do a Crowbar album because it's been 5 years. There is a part of that where it becomes, that is arguably of all those bands, it's the Dim's the biggest. So, which is weird because you would think it'd be one of these vanity projects, but it's the biggest one out of the lot, and they all have to put everything on hold. Like Corrosion of Conformity got the old guy back in. Instead of doing something with Pepper, because they're like, listen, we are not waiting any longer, we need to do stuff. So I hadn't realised it had been 7 years ostensibly, 6 years, 7 years since the previous one. So, and that track we listened to, I was grinning like a goofy schoolboy listening to it. I thought it was everything I wanted, and I think you've touched on a lot of the elements that make it a really compelling, really engaging listen. Specifically the production. I think the production is, we talk about sounds that marry well with bands. This is what this band should sound like in 2021. It is so organically linked, it's perfect. The fuzz that you're talking about, the guitar just sounds amazing. This is the sort of album that when I listen to, I'm like that, I wish I could play guitar. I genuinely, it's none of this Van Halen stuff where it's all virtuoso. It's this sort of thing where it's all just grooves, and then little bits with the guitars, just fuck it, I'm just going to throw this hook on at the end of this riff, and it only plays once, but fuck it. It's all that shit that just makes me really. This is a jamming band. That's what excites me. There are elements in here on some of these tracks where I'm like that. This just sounds like the best jam session ever. You can hear it because they're just the guitarist is just riffing on things, no pun intended. He's riffing on things that he's already done. It works really, really, really well. Some of the stuff it's weirdly juxtaposed. The guitar sounds really happy when the vocalist is singing about some really gnarly shit, and that tone that we're talking about vocally, you can pick out everything he's singing. Lyrics are very, very, very clear, and I like that tone that he's got, the kind of punky thing, because you're right, they did used to have a lot more of a punk influence in their sound, and that's the bit that seems to have remained is vocally, while the rest of the bands kind of went back to that kind of NOLA sound that you just expect. It's produced really well, it's written really, it's a bit samey in bits, but you know, unlike other releases where I'm like, only 6 songs on this EP, people will have heard it by now. This is the sort of one where it's so Moorish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They could have flung in 2 bonus tracks in the end and I would have been like happy as a pig and shit. I just want to hear more. I constantly want to hear more. Like, songs are finishing and like it's like almost a 5-minute song finishing. I'm like, oh, like just keep playing it. This is the only genre, I would argue, Kyle might want to disagree, the only genre where the fade out is fine. Like, because some of these riffs are so fucking down, do it all the time. So like the riffs are so, like, you just want to keep bobbing your head to it and just let it drift. Just let it drift, baby, let it drift. I think this is fucking great, like unabashedly great. I'm so happy that we have this, and it stands out because Dave's picks recently have been like unadulteratedly punishing, like just like, and then I come and listen to this and it feels like I'm coming home, man. It really like I'm so happy that they've persevered with this, specifically through some of the bad times that they've had, and managed to craft something that, and they're saying it themselves, you know, this was done it feels very prescient for the time. I think they've captured a vibe that very well suits a time frame which didn't exist when they were recording it. Vocally, I know that would have been done later on, so that would have been in line with it, and the lyrics certainly help. I love his turns of phrases, I really, really do, because he does a lot of them not based on stuff that makes sense, but rather to do with the amount of syllables in the beat. So you'll pick a word which just has the right syllables, doesn't match the sentence in any way, shape or form, or even remotely makes sense, but when he drops it in there, I'm like that. I like that. I really, really do. It's like clever wordplay. It doesn't always work for me, and you're right, I'd be damned if I could sing anything nice at all, because they're all so weird and abstract, but it works. It really, really works with the music. Yeah, this made me very, very, very happy to listen to, and I've went through this about 5 or 6 times, which is not what I usually do when we go to reviewing it. Like, 3's enough for me to form an opinion, but I listen beyond it because this just makes me happy. And you're right, we're not going to get a down release of original material this year. Church of Misery will be a long time before we get anything from them, and a lot of those other sludge bands are working on things, but they're not here right now. That they've taken first blood this year in the sludge releases, and I couldn't be any happier about it. So, and my ears may be wrong, but not a sampled drum in sight.
Oh,
or was there, Dream Killer?
I can confirm, no sampled drums in sight. It was organic all the way through. So, congratulations, you are now a producer.
What did you make of the album?
Yeah,
I hate God too, so this works for me.
Right.
Gotta see my notes. No samples, tone, love it.
Ladies and gents, that is literally what he's got written on a tablet, and what appears to be blood.
Face. It's just because
red.
Okay, I don't know if you know, I have an eye condition or 2, and red is the easiest colour for me to see. So that's why it
just fits the general persona of the Dream Killer. I only write in blood red.
I only write tone in blood red. No sample smiley face.
This is the thing. I don't know. I obviously know a bit of your musical taste, Kyle, but I don't know your stance on sludge. Like, I know a couple of releases and a particular track that you recently loaned me, thank you, that certainly show that you have a bit of a taste for it. But I know my ears acclimated to that. It was when we started doing Rock and Rails. I went from being a guy who really, really liked very, very, very heavy, very, very well polished written shit, And then in like 2012, 2013, I was like, no, I've been drinking from the wrong cup, guys. This is a new chalice. And I went hardcore on Doom and Sludge to the point where it became a bit. My nickname on Rock and Reels was Doomcan, because it was like I was just like, anything Doom, give me it. So you are that way inclined.
Very much that way inclined. I might not be into it as much as you guys, but I love it. I do love the sound. Whenever I hear a band, I get into it, and then I just sort of float away from it and come back to it, and I love it. But if you look at my pedal board on my guitar, I have 4 fuzz pedals. One of them's a custom, and that's because I fucking love these sludgy, doomy, awful tones. I really do, and I've been trying to craft my own for years, and I'm getting close. I told you before I'm going to start writing an 8-string Doom album, and I'm going to do it. Yeah. I've started. So, with those 4 fucking fuzz pedals, 4.
Fourth dimensional fuzz, that's the name of the release.
Right,
and you can thank me for it now. So there you go.
That's the name of it, yeah, there we go. Right. You're singing on it, by the way, too. So
yes, I'm there, don't worry. I will fly to Oslo.
I'll meet in the middle.
Yeah.
In the
ocean. Sea.
Yeah.
Not the ocean, we're going the wrong way. So yeah, you dug it. It's safe to say you liked it. Yeah.
I did. I liked it a lot. I'm not so up on the history of Eyehategod and Nolan and all that stuff, but I always like it and listen to it, and this was absolutely no exception at all. I really liked it. I liked it all the way through. I love the tone of his voice, the tone of the things. I love that half the shit he said didn't make any sense. And it was also organic. When you say it's a jam band, it's like, yeah, they're just in a studio having the best goddamn time. And you can hear that, and they're unequivocally just themselves. They're just doing what they love, and I love that. They're not trying to be anything. They're just, this is us, this is what we're going to make, and here's a major scale and a solo.
Yeah.
And I loved it all the way
happiest solos ever, honestly.
I know,
so
it's
happy.
great. It's like such a heavy tone, and then suddenly like, yeah, alright, cool, I love it. I can get on board with that. So yeah, absolutely enjoyed it from beginning to end, and I will for many, many years to come.
Yeah, they have track 10 is called Smoker's Peace, and that is a jam, and that to me just sounds like they just left things on while they were warming up, and that makes me happy. It's just like it's difficult not like, see if someone told me they didn't like this release, I'd question their humanity. It's on that level. I find it so just. Sludge is the last bastion of, in metal anyway, Sludge is the last bastion of, if you like your heavy stuff, you're covered. If you like your rockier stuff with that kind of 70s vibe, you're covered. If you like that kind of modern feel, there's sludge bands that incorporate that kind of modern sound. If you like your retro stuff, it's like a big tent that just like takes in fans from all over. And Eyehategod are a band that have morphed. Like Dave was saying, go back and listen to their earlier stuff. They were definitely heavier, definitely punkier, definitely angrier. But those guys now are older, and that's what I like about it. These sound like they are older, and I want that. I don't want like an Eyehategod in 2021 writing music like they were 20. You know what I mean? There's life experience in what they're singing, and I think it comes through in spades. So I'm going to shut up talking about this because I'll just keep talking all day about Eyehategod, and Dave will eventually have to give me the signal where I'll just play the Oscar music will play, and I'll get dragged off the stage. You know? But yeah.
So rating wise for this new album, I've listened to this a lot. I think this album is full of personality. Like, it's probably the most personality I've heard from Eyehategod. It's got all the elements that make up an Eyehategod album, but it's also got so much character through it. I feel like this is an album that won't get lost in the kind of sea of sludge bands. Like, if I heard this in a few years' time, playing in a bar or over the PA in a venue, I'd know straight away who this is and what album it's from, because it's so distinctive. Is it a perfect album? No, I don't think so.
Should there be a perfect sludge album though, Dave?
Well, I don't know. There were a couple of tracks on it that were just a little bit repetitive and a little bit of an anticlimax, but certainly didn't ruin it for me. I thought that the good stuff in this far outweighs any kind of criticisms I have about it. I'd probably go at a 4.5, I think, on this one. For the new Eyehategod album. Duncan, what are you thinking?
Reunited and it feels so good. 4.5, Dave. Yeah.
4.5.
On the money. On the money.
Nice. And Kyle.
Yeah, I'll join you on that one.
Nice.
4.5. But
Nice.
I will not sing it because my voice has been banned by the Geneva Convention. So my absolutely not.
We don't want them coming back after us again.
No second
It's a
thing.
bit dodgy last time. So
yeah. Yes, that is the review. Eyehategod, A History of Nomadic Behaviour, drops on March 12th on Century Media Records. If you want to check them out, it's facebook.com/official Eyehategod. Link in the description below to that and any pre-orders that they have for the album. Thanks for checking out the review, much appreciated. If you have any comments on the album itself, let us know what you think. Stick some comments in below, happy to hear them. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
bye everyone.
See you later.